Today's verse is Psalm 139, verse 5. This is David singing about God. It reads like this: You hem me in, behind and before, and lay your hand upon me. The world can be a scary place, and sometimes life just feels so unstable. We know that God is our refuge, and we trust Him, but we wish we trusted Him more. We wish we didn't spend nights tossing and turning and worrying about everything. And if we could sit down and have a cup of tea with King David, I think he would know how we feel. He'd tell us, like he does in verse 19 in this psalm, about the men of blood who hunted him through the desert, who drove him out into the wilderness on his own. He'd tell us about how unsafe and insecure and out of control he felt. But he wouldn't stop there. He'd also tell us that when it feels like the world is crumbling apart, and when we're persecuted for loving Jesus, and when we wish we knew the future, but we don't, there's something that we need to remember. And it's in today's verse. You are hemmed in, behind and before. The word hemmed, we don't really use it anymore, but it just means surrounded, defended, held snugly and tightly in the arms of another. And if you read the verses before this one, David tells us one of the reasons why God is the best refuge you could ever find. And it's this: God knows absolutely everything. Listen to David singing about the knowledge of God. O Lord, you have searched me and known me. You know when I sit down and when I rise up. You discern my thoughts from afar. You search out my path and my lying down, and are acquainted with all my ways. And in verse 6, such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It is high. I cannot attain it. Do you see? David doesn't need to know the future, because God does. David doesn't need to be in control, because God is. And David wants us to see that God knows us through and through. He knows everything we'll ever think, or say, or do, everywhere we'll ever go, every good day, every bad day. The whole universe is a book that God knows off by heart. And the lesson is this: there is no safer place you could ever be than in the arms of this God. And that doesn't mean that life will be easy. It doesn't mean that things will go how we want. It doesn't mean that we won't face disease or death. But it does mean that even the worst case scenario, even our greatest fear, could happen, and we'd still be safe. In the West, we often don't feel anything like the kind of persecution that Christians around the world feel. We don't know what it's like to face the horrors that they face. But if what God is saying in this psalm is true, well, it means that even the Christians locked up in prison, about to be killed for their faith, can still say that they are in the safest place in the world, because the arms of Jesus will carry them through death and into God's new creation. Can you say with David, there's nowhere else I'd rather be than in the arms of this God, hemmed in by him?